I'd like to read from the book of Psalms. Psalm chapter 7, verse 14. Behold the wicked, or we could just as easily say, behold the covert, malignant narcissist. Behold the wicked travaileth with iniquity, and hath conceived mischief, and has brought forth, or given birth to, falsehood. The wicked conceives it. He travails it. Travail is another word for birth pangs. And he brings forth, or gives birth to, abuse, deceit, treachery. Abuse, wickedness, iniquity. These are the narcissist's baby. Every one of us has had a pet project we've worked on, and we refer to it as our baby. I've seen people call their cars that they, especially a classic car, that they spend hours and hours shining up, my baby. That's my pride and joy. That's my baby. The thing is with abusers, in particular the covert ones, is they don't want to take ownership of their abuse. Not to you, they don't. Not to their victim. It is a common tactic among every abuser, among every covert narc, to create a smokescreen that leads others around them to believe their abuse was somehow impulsive or spontaneous or the fault of other people. They want to make it look as if their abuse is anything but something that proceeds from their own twisted mind. I don't know what came over me, you'll hear them say. I just lost my temper. I'm hurting. I've been thinking about the abuse that I suffered as a child. That's why I beat you. It's your fault. If you would treat me better, I wouldn't act so mean and evil. Well, they never say evil, but yeah. You get it. You've probably heard garbage like that. Abuse is their baby. They're the ones who conceived it. They're the ones who gave birth to it. All that blaming of the victim, blaming of others, blaming of circumstances, blaming of their own emotions that they can't control, blaming of their own inner pain is bull. If we are to believe Psalms chapter 7, verse 14. I'd like to read what I wrote about this. The covert malignant narc conceives mischief. He is pregnant with an overwhelming desire to prey on the spirit, the soul, and the body of his target. The covert malignant narc travails or suffers birth pains with iniquity. He's working out a strategy to inflict maximum levels of pain with minimum culpability. And there is real mental work involved in the reaching of this delicate balance. And finally, the covert malignant narc gives birth to falsehood or treachery. He carries out the abuse, which is a manifestation of his malicious desires coupled with cold calculation. The essence of his behavior is summed up in betrayal, faithlessness, and treason. It's his baby. What would you think? This is really bizarre, but I think it'll make the point. What would you think if you were in the in a room, in a hospital, surgery room, whatever, in which a woman is giving birth to a child? And eventually, she gives birth to it. The baby passes through the birth canal. And the first thing she does is turn around and looks at a total stranger in the room, points to him and says, "That ain't my baby. That's not my baby." You'd think she was crazy, probably. I would. But malignant, covert narc abusers do this constantly. The evil and the treachery they perpetrate on their victims, it ain't my fault. It ain't my baby. Yes, it is. Yes, Mr. Narc, it is. You conceived it. Someone else can't conceive a baby for you. You have to conceive the child. You, Mr. Narc, travailed over that baby of abuse. You worked out the narrative you would use. You worked out the scripting you would use. You worked out the manipulations you would use so that you could inflict the maximum amount of pain on your target, yet make it look like somehow or other you're the victim. It's your baby, Mr. Narc. You're the one who gave birth to this evil. Narcissistic abuse, let me tell you what it is not. Narcissistic abuse is not impulsive. It is not done without forethought. It is not spontaneous. It is not born of passions. It is not emotional. That rage and anger that you see from the narc, he can shut it off at will. He's a morally bankrupt person. He's past feeling. Narcissistic abuse is not impromptu. The narc abuse perpetrated on you was not ill-considered or ill thought out or spur of the moment. It was coldly and calculatedly conceived, travailed over, and issued forth from his own heart. It's not your fault. It's not God's fault. It's not his parents' fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not society's fault. It's not circumstances' fault. It's his baby. It's his fault. It's on him. A man named Lundy Bancroft made this statement at a talk he gave. Lundy Bancroft is a man who's an expert on domestic abuse, and he has been working with the men who abuse their wives for decades. And he has no compassion on these men at all, which he shouldn't. But he said this. He said, by the way, he made these comments at a talk titled Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men, and I think you could probably find this on YouTube. Abusers deliberately and consciously choose their tactics of abuse. When two intervention workers, a male and a female, trial workshopped a skit of a man abusing his wife to an audience of batterers in their batterers behavior change group, the men in the group got very excited and started telling the male worker what he should be doing to be more effectively, what he should be doing to more effectively take control of the woman. In their excitement to give feedback on the skit, the men were forgetting to portray themselves as not responsible for their actions. Hey, when I pushed her, I had no idea what came over me. I just snapped. In their enthusiasm to help this skit be more effective, these abusive men dropped their masks and revealed how much they intentionally and consciously choose their tactics of abuse.